everybody! I'm here again today to talk about my favorite releases from this year so far. I have a few young adult novels right up front, and then I have a couple of other genres too. So first I have this book, which is The Wonder of Us by Kim Culbertson. This is a really fantastic book that I really enjoyed. So I actually got it. It's an ARC. It came out in April this year. I'm not like someone who receives ARCs. Like, what do I have, like 25 subscribers right now? I actually found this being illegally sold at a used bookstore, and the fact that it was an ARC that hadn't come out yet made me feel like I was in like a cool special club of people who get to read ARCs. So I picked it up for like $2. I was really surprised by how much I like it. The premise is that there are two girls who used to be best friends and haven't seen each other in a long time, and in order to reconnect, they go on a grand tour in Europe. They go to a bunch of cities in Europe and work on their friendship. And some other things happen, but the really great parts of this book are about their friendship. I love a good YA novel about friendship. It's kind of like when there are YA novels about romance with friendship sprinkled in, but the opposite. So it's a YA novel about friendship with romance sprinkled in. Very light sprinkling. So I really enjoyed this book. I think that other people would too, and I haven't heard people talking about this. So I should look up whether it actually came out. But if it did, this is a really fantastic book, and I think that other people should pick it up too. Next is a book that everybody has heard about, New York Times bestseller, The Hate U Give. Honestly, I kind of didn't want to put this in here because it's been talked about so much, but I couldn't not put this book in this video. This book is so timely, so well executed. It's also incredible that it's a YA novel, that it's trying to reach out to younger audiences. It's so well done. I'm glad that they're making it into a movie. This book is about a girl named Star who goes to a party and sees one of her old childhood friends, and when they're on their way home, they get pulled over and her friend Khalil is shot and killed. And as the only non-police witness to this murder, she gets really wrapped up in the court proceedings and everything that happens afterward. It's inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement. It's really important, it's really great, and they do a great job of covering not just Star's experiences with the court and with the other police, which are really fantastic parts of the book, but also the emotional repercussions of what happened to her. I think that this book is really fantastic, and if you haven't picked this up, I don't know why you haven't picked it up, but you absolutely should. The next book I'm going to talk about, another YA novel, is We Are Okay. This is a book about a girl who, for various reasons, ends up over winter break alone in her dormitory in New York. She's the only person on the campus, and her best friend from back home comes to visit her right before Christmas. This whole book takes place over the course of a couple days. It has some flashbacks. It's really incredibly interesting. I will say that this book is not action-packed. It's almost written like a character study. It takes place only over a few days. A lot of the action is in the past. It's good and it's interesting, but it's also subtle. If you're someone who likes books with a lot of action in it, this book might not be for you. But otherwise, it has a really beautiful cover. I think it's definitely worth picking up. But if you're someone who doesn't want to read a book that's subtle, it's not action-packed, and happens over the course of a couple days, more focused on character development than anything else, then don't pick up this book. Only pick up this book if you want that. My next book will also not come as a surprise to anyone. In fact, I think all of these YA novels will not come as a surprise to anyone, but the fact is that they're excellent books. The next one, History Is All You Left Me. This is a book about a teenage boy, Griffin, whose ex-boyfriend, Theo, dies unexpectedly, and Griffin ends up really teaming up with Theo's more recent boyfriend, Jackson, in an attempt to grieve and sort out what happened, sort out their feelings, because they really feel like only one another understands what they're going through. And it's a really emotional novel. It's really, really well executed. I will say that I don't think that I loved this the way other people loved this. I thought it was really well done. It was totally engrossing. It really skillfully moves from present to past and back again. It skillfully and honestly talks about grief and OCD. I think its own voices when it comes to OCD. My only grievance with this book is that I really wanted more information about the secondary characters, not just Jackson and Griffin. I was really interested in their friend Wade and what was going on with him and what was happening with him, and because Griffin is just not paying attention to that, you don't really get a lot of that. So my only grievance is that I wanted more development of the secondary characters. I really don't think this book is overrated. I think that it has well-deserved hype, and I would recommend that you pick up this book. Next is kind of in a similar vein, A List of Cages. This book felt, writing style-wise, really similar to History Is All You Left Me, and I think that's because it's focused both on the past and the present. I think that's, since I read them kind of one after another, they seemed kind of similar to me. But this book is also excellent. It's about two teenage boys who were foster brothers when they were younger and who reconnect when they're in high school. I don't want to say too much more than that because this book goes into some really heavy things and I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but it is a very excellent book. It's very heart-wrenching, it's sad. I would say it's not for the faint-hearted, and you should look up what trigger warnings might apply if you are frequently triggered by books that deal with hard subjects. So I would say that this is another one that you should pick up, but you kind of have to be in the mood for it. Know that you're getting into something sad. Know that you're getting into something hard. This is not a happy, fluffy YA novel. That's all the YA novels that I have to show you. So the other 3 books that I have are not YA. And so if you're really only interested in YA, these might not interest you. They're 3 different genres. So first, this is actually probably one of my top favorite poetry books. Now, it's Hard Child by Natalie Shapero. This book, I discovered it because it was on a bunch of lists last year about great poetry books that were coming out this year. And I have to say they were definitely right. I will say that this poetry collection is remarkably accessible. So I'm not someone who knows a ton about poetry. I don't know a lot about the technical skills that go into writing good poetry. I would like to know, and I did take some classes, but I just found it was not easy for me to understand. The fact that I understood it and really connected to it means that other people probably can as well. It's really fantastic. I would recommend picking this up if you're interested in poetry that's closer to the traditional idea of poetry than Milk and Honey, but still not completely inaccessible to the average person like poetry so often is. This is a good poetry collection. I really, really enjoy it. I cannot recommend it highly enough. The next book is a collection of short stories. This book is also not for the faint-hearted, but I loved it so much. It's Homesick for Another World by Ottessa Moshfegh. This book is really amazing. So the reason that I picked this book up, I had been interested in her novel Eileen, but I heard so many mixed thoughts about it that I was kind of scared to pick it up. But when this book was coming out, I read this review that said that this book is super gross, and that just made me so intrigued. A short story collection that's just really gross. I was like, how gross can it be? Because there were some synopses about stories that were in it, and it was like, oh, people experience existential crises, people do this, people do that, and none of them seemed to be gross. None of them were people killing each other or slicing up dead bodies or something like that. It was none of that. It was always just like average people seemingly doing average things, and so I was like, how can it be gross? I picked it up. This book is so gross. Some of it is like icky, like body fluid stuff, like gross, dirty, ugh stuff things that you wouldn't want to touch are described in great detail in here. But the grossest thing about this book is the characters. They're just absolutely terrible, reprehensible, horrible people that you would never want to encounter in real life. I would not approach this book if you're icked out easily, or if you don't like reading books with unlikable characters. Personally, I think that books with unlikable characters are not necessarily bad. Some people, when they read books and a character is really unlikable, it kind of ruins the experience for them. That's definitely not me. I can really love a book, obviously, with characters that I absolutely hate. I don't like annoying characters. Like, if a character annoys me, then that is likely to make me not like the book. But like, gross bad people are really interesting to me and can make really interesting books. Basically, this is an amazing collection. Like, out of all of the books that I'm talking about here, this one's probably my second favorite. This book has a lot going for it. If you like short stories, I would highly recommend picking this up. Just know that nothing in this book is going to make you feel good. It's all gross and interesting, fascinating, well executed, well written, awesome, but not feel good. So don't expect that. Next, I'm going to talk about a book that I do not have a hard copy of because I listened to it as an audiobook when I was at work. It's a very, very new young adult novel that came out just in the last month or so. It's called It's Not Like It's a Secret by Misa Sugiura. I think that this is a great new young adult release. It's got a lot of really great things going for it. A really solid new book with a lesbian main character. It's about a 16-year-old Japanese girl named Sana who moves from a mostly white Midwestern town to a very diverse Californian town and meets a girl who she instantly has a crush on named Jamie, and Jamie is Mexican. And so it's about their developing relationship. It's also about Sana meeting new friends who come from a similar cultural background and her appreciating being able to be understood by her friends. It's also about Sana's relationship developing with her parents, who do have some complicated things going on that Sana doesn't necessarily know everything about. There's a lot going on. It's an interesting book, and I would recommend it. I don't think it's one of my favorite YA novels, but I think it's good and it made me happy, and that's all good things. The next book I'm going to talk about is a book that I'm absolutely in love with. It came out just a couple of weeks ago. I pre-ordered it like months ago, right when it was announced, and when it came in the mail I had forgotten that it was coming out that day, and it made me so happy to receive the package. It's Hunger by Roxane Gay. I already liked Roxane Gay, had read The Untamed State and Bad Feminist, but those books to me absolutely pale in comparison to this incredible memoir. I could not have connected to and appreciated a book more. Like, I'm legitimately getting emotional thinking about this. I just finished it yesterday. In this book, she goes into, as she says, issues to do with her body. She talks about being the victim of sexual assault when she was 12 years old and all of the emotional trauma that has stemmed from that and how it has influenced her body. This is hard to talk about. So she also goes into what it means and what it's like to exist in a society that doesn't have space for fat people, a fat-phobic society, which is illuminating and interesting. And although I experience at my size some of the fat phobia that she talks about in this book, it was certainly enlightening for me to hear about her experiences as someone who is significantly larger than me. In addition, she goes into how our society thinks about and how pop culture presents fat people and what the implications of that are and how it has emotionally impacted her. This is such an important read. I think that this is absolutely one of my all-time favorite books. It's going to get like a star position on my bookshelf. I really connected to this book and I'm still processing it. I don't really know how to talk about it yet. Obviously, I'm not too coherent about it, but I can't recommend it enough. It's a really incredible book. Please pick this up. It's nonfiction, but the chapters are really short. Most of them are 2 to 3 pages. There are a couple of exceptions when she's going really in depth into a topic, but most of them are really short. It's an easy read. I mean, it's difficult content-wise, but it reads smoothly, it reads quickly. Thank you, Roxane Gay, for writing this incredible book. So that's all I got for you. My favorite releases of 2017 so far. I'll probably do another video like this at the end of the year of all of my favorite 2017 releases, and some of these will probably get weeded out. If you have any questions about any of them, put them down below. Please comment. I love talking to you all online. If you have any reviews of any of those books, please let me know. Okay, see you next time.